Navaditamastu ma vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Vishuruyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaihi Sushtumadam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitayadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashamaha Swasti nः Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarsho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we saw that the paravidya by which you gain the fulfillment is about knowing this, because the question was, see, please don't always start thinking that this is self-knowledge. Here, what was the question? What was the nature of the question? Was he tell me my true nature? What was the question?
What is this thing through which everything else is not happening?
Excellent, right? So the question is of a different type. The question is not, who am I? The question is what? Tell me that one thing, knowing which everything is as well known. Right? So now, you need to find an equivalent of gold, which is not only truth of you, right? It's not only truth of one ornament, it is truth of what? Ornaments. Understand that clearly, right? So that means now we are looking into that which is, now the ornaments stand for what? Time, space, all the forms, functions, the changes which take place, the laws, the body, mind, different attributes, different language, knowledge. So what the question was, please don't, the problem here with Vedanta, that when it's not well understood, you think that this is not about right now. The approach is it the self that he's asking? He's asking, knowing one thing, everything is as well known. So somebody is asking for truth of everything. Do you understand the difference in question? Yeah. So don't get stuck to one thing. This is what, the approach is, this is what we mean by different methodologies. Different methodologies, because you can have a question about who I am. Somebody else may have a question about what this whole Jagat is all about. And no matter which way you start the inquiry, you come to this. Do you see that? So that means look at this, some Upanishads, this different. Where is Anya? She's not there. Okay. So, she asks this question about different methodologies. And this is a good way to understand that how these different methodologies work. Somebody goes to a teacher and says what? Like Narada goes to the teacher and says that I know this, I know this, I know this, but I'm still in pain. And can you teach me that knowledge, knowing which my pain, that I will be fulfilled. So where is the emphasis? What does the person want? Where is the question? Where is it coming from? The person wants to personally wants to know about oneself. This question is not exactly the same, right? This question is something different. This question is about, tell me one thing, knowing which everything is known. It's not a personal question. Do you see the difference? Now, the teacher has to not say, oh, I only know one way, which is what is your true nature. So the teacher, if the teacher knows the whole truth, the teacher approaches not from one track, the teacher approaches from what? Answering the question, which is what is that one thing which is equivalent to goal, knowing which the entire universe, which includes everything, will be known. So that is what we call the vision. No matter which way you start, how you approach it, you end up here. It's not like I'm only used to my inquiry, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, and anything else you ask me, I'm not familiar. That is not called knowledge. Right? So therefore, this is the question. So now, we are entering into finding out that one thing which includes everything. Okay? Now, so that means the teacher has to first introduce the nature of this, because in this example, what is the gold is something which can be, which is the truth of all ornaments, which can be seen by you, right? So now, when this ornament equivalent includes the entire universe, and you have to find the cause of the whole universe, it is something that the teacher has to say, I'm going to explain to you what that nature of the cause is, but don't expect, like gold, to what? See it. Do you understand that? Because before I start explaining, the mind is used to seeing something. So it will say, hey, don't expect for it to be seen by you like you see gold, right? Please don't expect it to, gold you can hold in your hand, right? It says, hey, it cannot be grasped by what? Organs of action. Do you understand? Yes. It also cannot be what we saw. It's something which is unborn. Why it has to be unborn? To be all this, what we call birth, please understand, is within time and space. So all of these things which are kind of within time and space, your particular knowledge of that given thing, even though the gravity is always there, but your knowledge of gravity is also born within what the Newton's knowledge was born within time and space, right? He came to know on this date at this place, right? So that means all of this is within all the forms, and along with the forms, the functions, all the changes that are taking place in the forms, all the laws operate within time and space. The body, mind and intellect is within time and space. The languages are evolved within time and space. And knowledge that is gained is within time and space. So time and space provides the framework for all of this to happen. Right? Now, you're talking about what is the relationship between ornaments and the gold. The gold is the cause, please understand, of all the ornaments. So that means the gold has to precede the ornaments or not?
Yes.
The gold has to precede the ornaments. So that means the equivalent of the cause, which is now not the cause of only the ornaments, of time, space, and everything that exists within time and space has to exist before everything is born or not?
Yes.
Yes. So itself, this is what we call, these are all the things which are born. This is what we call what? Unborn. It is something which exists before the universe manifests. What is the manifestation of universe? The time, the space, and objects come into being. So it exists. We are not here talking about this little I who's figuring out, hey, it's talking about something else. Right? So that means this reality was unborn, means it is something which existed before the manifestation of time, space, and objects and laws. This is the reality, unborn. Now, itself has no attributes. Now, so that means all these forms, do they have attributes or not?
Yes.
All these forms that are born within time and space, they have attributes. The functions have attributes because the function of one object is different from what the other object. The laws, we name so many different laws, right? We call one thing a biological law, the other one is what we call chemical laws. So they are different from the other, right? So that means, what is a biological law? What does it examine?
Body, chemistry.
Yeah. So what does it, if you are studying biology in university, what are you studying?
Cells.
Microorganisms.
Nucleus.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that means, and then when you are studying astrophysics, what are you studying? Yeah. So that means they all have their own domain, right? So that means one is different from the other, right? So that means there also you have some attributes. The body, mind and intellect, does it have attributes or not? Yes. You have different bodies, somebody is white, somebody is brown, somebody is dark brown, somebody is, I don't know, somebody's hair is brunette, somebody is blonde, right? I mean, you can have so many different attributes of the body and so many different attributes of the mind, right? My mind may be clear in one thing, but your mind may be totally clear in something else that I have to learn from you, right? So that means the mind's and intellect attributes and the inclinations could be different, right? The languages, so now in this room itself, how many different languages are spoken? 10. 10.
No, more than 10. 20.
In this
We
room.
can count it now.
That is satsang work. Now be reminded what can be handled in satsang and what is a satsang material and what is a class material. Okay, so that we can do for fun, but in satsang. Okay. So languages we can count. Then the different knowledges. Now how many, somebody is an engineer, somebody is an economist, somebody is an artist, somebody is, you know, all of the. So that means even different kinds of bodies, which is what Apara Vidya that we have all gained, is all of different types. Somebody is a doctor, Clementina is a doctor. So that is, yeah. So therefore, you have all kinds of different knowledges. So that means all of this is what multiple. And they all have multiple means what is Russian is not Indian. That's what makes it multiple. Right? Now, if there is one reality, look at the logic, from which all of this comes, can itself has one attribute? Can it have? No. Why not?
Because then it would spill that attribute to everything else.
Excellent.
What is that?
That is the logic. Explain.
It would, so if consciousness had an attribute, then everything in the world would resemble that same attribute, so we couldn't see another attribute because it would be superimposed of the original.
What, in simple terms, what he's saying is absolutely right. What he's saying is right. It is right. But let's make it a little bit more simple to understand. What he means is, suppose consciousness had one attribute of, let's say, blue consciousness. What it would then mean is that everything has come from it. So now gold is everywhere, right? In every ornament inheres what? The quality of gold. So that means every form, every function, every law will have blueness. Do you understand? This is why, where is that other Anya? The other, yeah. So if you give one attribute to this consciousness, says benevolent, suppose, let's make the cause benevolent, right? What will happen is, it has to inhere what? All. And if it inheres all, you should not see war anywhere. You will not see what? Violence anywhere. Do you understand that? So you think that you want it to be nice, but what happens is, you make it as though it's one of the objects in the world. This is why it's not what feels good to you, it's what is. Right? So that means inherently it has to be free from any attributes in order for it to manifest as everything which is, one thing is different from other, right? So if it is both white and black, it can manifest as both white and black, itself has to be what?
Attributeless.
Excellent, free from both. Because if it was inherently white, you will see white everywhere. You will not see black. This is what we call logic. So therefore, itself has to be attributeless, avarna. If it is cause of everything, it has to, and which itself within this causes, you see so many different varieties and so many oppositions, it has to be free from both. Right? Then, it is free from attributes. Itself, please now, it is changed. Itself, does consciousness has eyes? No. What has eyes is what? Your body and my body and animal's body and what? A bird's body. So therefore, itself, please don't think that there is this one cause which is overlooking you and seeing exactly what you are doing and giving you the results and saying, this is why. If anybody has understood Vedanta, they will never say, Ishvara knows and Ishvara will do what is best for me. If you have done that, what have you reduced Ishvara to? Huh? One body, one mind who's overlooking you and saying, hey, Carl, now today I'm going to teach you this. Right? Don't make Ishvara into uncle.
Yeah.
So this argument of prayers, whenever I talk about prayers, people resist and they said, Ishvara knows. What does it mean? There is some uncle sitting there, he knows everything about you. There is no uncle sitting there who knows everything about you. Ishvara is a possibility. It creates this whole platform. Time, space, forms, laws. It organizes a language within which all the possibilities exist. And as you begin to collapse one possibility, there is a perfect feedback mechanism. It gives you seen and unseen results. You create causes and it produces effects. So that is what we call infallibility of the universe. There is this impartiality. It doesn't have any intentions. It doesn't have, you can't attribute intentions to it. Because the minute you do that, what will happen is what? All this will become, some personal game of a sadist person who's making you play this game. Okay? Who was raising hand? Rudra.
About the prayers, praying. So
Yes.
prayer is also part of the ornaments.
So, now, one thing that I need to understand, we haven't yet come to prayers is because actually, technically, nobody prays to consciousness. People pray to Ishvara. So now, this is why you need to really understand what is Ishvara, who are you praying to. You can't confuse, nobody prays to consciousness. So that means there is so much jumble, so that now the next verse will explain what is Ishvara? We haven't yet come to Ishvara yet. Yeah? Okay.
You said yesterday it's a benevolent universe.
No, benevolent in what it means is that the forms are organized and in a way that this possibility, right, you come to this universe. When I explain Ishvara, it will be a little bit more clear because there is an intervening factor here, right? Now, what happens is the forms are organized in a way that they don't know realities, but they also have the potential to know the reality. Right? So for example, I come on this earth, I don't know that the whole thing is what coming from here. I come with not knowing this reality. When you are born, are you coming into this world knowing that all that is here is one consciousness and the world is mithya and all of that? You don't know it. But with a human body and mind, you're given the capacity to figure out that, hey, my true nature is not here, my true nature is this. So that means, now what will lead you to go from here to here? Because you start with your identity here.
Experiences.
So that means you feel small because you find yourself in the universe which is huge. And your body and mind occupies a very little position in the grand scheme of things and you feel small. But the world is designed in a way that what you want, you can't stand the smallness. You can't stand mortality. You cannot stand being non-fulfilled. So because that is how it is designed, by the time you become 5, 6, the whole search, right? The whole search becomes wanting to become big. And the only way that people, like Ole was talking about, the society has learned to feel big. And how has it learned to feel big, relatively big?
Aggrandizing, procuring.
Exactly, within this. It has learned to feel big. But what is the problem is, within this, it's impossible to feel big for too long. And not only it's impossible to feel too big for too long, in your quest to feel big, what you end up is with what? Exactly, being even smaller. So you end up with depression, you end up with anger, you end up with all kinds of low self-image, you end up with all kinds of things. So what it means is now, but you can't give up this goal of being fulfilled. So the world is designed in a way that if you are staying within this being the reality, it will bring suffering. And every healthy human being has a desire to free oneself from suffering. So hopefully you will be smart enough and find the real key to your fulfillment. Do you understand that? So world is organized with these possibilities.
So the benevolence lies in that key, because of
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
And it does not mean that everything is nice.
No. Perfect. Perfect. Right?
It's linked to the free will concept.
That's why it's also linked to the
What about free will? I didn't get the context.
So okay, Tomia, explain.
Well, it's about the possibility. So what, I don't know.
Ute.
What? Oh,
So Ute just realized that the benevolence of the whole system, the setup, I would say, lays in the possibility of choice. Because if there wouldn't be any choice, there would be no way out. So this is the shortest answer.
If you didn't have a choice, you would just be a toy in this whole game and you are unable to come out of it. Right? The very fact that this possibility is given, right? But you need to use your faculty of choice to either remain here or to get there. You see what I mean? This is why, how important it is, the wise use of your free will. That's why you cannot just simply negate the mind as mithya and not pay attention to it. It will lead to disaster. Because you have to use, this mind is given and its faculty of choice has to be used intelligently to get you from here to here. So therefore, this is why a sharp, a noble mind, a conflict-free mind, a mind which has taken care of one's emotions, these are all critical factors. Critical factors. We saw, see, everything reconciles. The first day, what did we see? That for knowledge, you need self-growth and you need what? Self-inquiry. So that means if you try to ignore your emotional life and and just kind of in some artificial equilibrium and consciousness is not affected, Ishvara will get you here. It will, I'm telling you. That means it will show you that, hey, that is what, as I said, when you create yourself in you an artificial equilibrium, what is the mechanism? It will bring what? Suffering. And this suffering is not something which is, it's not because Ishvara is sadist, but because this is a mechanism for you to move there. Do you understand? Just as your previous suffering led you to inquiry, as a result of inquiry, if you start thinking, oh, I just kind of got it and I'm cool and I am now problem free, wait for a few years. Right? So that means, what happens is, Ishvara says, hey, there's still some way to go. Right? So that means there is nothing wrong with it. Please understand, there is nothing wrong. Don't feel bad. This is how everybody is, right? All of us, somehow in our zeal to kind of find a solution, what happens is we think that, we are in this safe place. But this is why this self-knowledge and self-growth are two critical components of spirituality, as we saw yesterday. Okay? So, now, Stefan.
I have a question.
Yes.
This attributeless.
Yes.
You say consciousness must be attributeless because the objects can have these differences between each other. Are we not creating consciousness by saying, are we implying that because we come to the conclusion that there must be no attributes?
Yeah. See, the thing is, okay, that's a good question. What Stefan is asking is it not like the other way that we are seeing all of this and the cause must not have this? So, actually, what we are doing, this is when you have to understand what we are doing. This Paravidya, which is Vedanta Upanishads, they reveal this consciousness to be attribute-free. So what we are doing is, we are supposing. Why should I believe in Upanishad when it says that this consciousness is attribute-free? I think better, so let me give some attribute of benevolence to the consciousness, right? When you think like that, what are the logical problems? That's what, the minute you start subscribing to the opinion which is not the truth, you will fall into logical problems. Do you see that? It's not like we are looking at this and then we are using Paravidya. We are using Upanishad and its words to understand the nature of consciousness, which is otherwise, through our own inference and perception, not available to us. It makes a certain statement about what is this reality. The cause of the universe. In this case, we are not actually right? The cause of the universe, the nature of I, which you have no access to. That's why we are using Upanishads, and we are saying, suppose you have another opinion, right? You don't agree with Upanishad, and you think like this. If you think if it is not true, it'll, and somewhere along the line, it will begin to have logical problems. Do you understand the method? Yeah?
So in other words, we're never trying to prove consciousness. So we're not using logic to get to the point, there is consciousness. We're working backwards somehow.
Excellent. In fact, that is so true what Timur is saying. So this is why we talked about what yesterday. See, put all the links together. Yesterday, what we did is what? Paravidya and Aparavidya. What was this Aparavidya? It is something that you arrive at looking at what with your own deduction capacity, with your own logical capacity, with your own data that you gather from perception. And that is by nature what? Limited. So we are not claiming that we are arriving at this nature. Otherwise, you don't need to come and study Upanishads. Why should you come? You will be sitting and using your perception and inference coolly, and you will arrive at this. But it's not arrived at. So that's why we are using Paravidya. And what is this Paravidya? The Vedas, but not the entire Veda. Which Veda? Upanishads. So that means Upanishad is the one which is revealing Yaya what? Aksharam Gamyate. Each word that you have studied is important. By these words of Upanishad, what will you gain is what? This, which otherwise is not possible. So now, when you are looking into the Upanishads are describing this, one thing, knowing which everything is known, which is the cause of the universe, the Upanishads are describing it like this, the cause of the universe. So we are looking into the words of Upanishad. As we are looking into the words of Upanishad, our approach is not like, because Upanishad says this, therefore it is right. Right? Our approach is, this is what Upanishad says, and suppose you don't agree, and suppose you take another standpoint, what is the problem that you will get into? Do you understand? So you are using logic, but you are not using logic to establish anything. You are using logic to see how what Upanishads say is something which is not contradictable. Do you see that? You must have the key of what we are doing here and why we are studying Upanishads and what is the role. All this has to be clear. The relationships have to be clear. The use of words have to be clear. So therefore, do you get this? So now, this is already what the Upanishad is describing, right? It's not something that we arrived at through logic. Now what we are doing is we are giving a counter. And then we are seeing the logical problems that we get into. You understand? Okay. This is why we call, yesterday somebody was saying, means of knowledge. Who used that word, means of knowledge? Yesterday somebody said, pramana. I think somebody used the word pramana. I don't know. Okay. So, okay, doesn't matter. Okay. So therefore, if you give it any attributes, then this is the logical problem. Now itself is something which is what? Doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have ears, it doesn't have hands, it doesn't have legs. So what it means is, this consciousness itself doesn't have any form. Right? Itself doesn't have any form. It is formless. And it is something which is what? Not bound by time. The definition that Matthias gave of Nityam was what? Something which is not bound by time. Being the cause of time, look at this, right? It has to exist before the coming into manifestation of time and space. Right? So don't, when we talk about consciousness, don't imagine some expanse. Any expanse that you imagine is within time and space. Understand that. Right? We are talking about that which is the truth of time and the truth of space. So therefore, it has to exist before all of this has come. So this is what we call is not bound by time, but the very truth of time. Okay. It is something which is what we call, which becomes many. Do you get this? This consciousness manifests as all of this. Like the gold right now manifests as what? All the different ornaments. We are not talking about one individual here. We are talking about what? The whole. Which manifests as many. Yeah? So that means from this, like all the ornaments came from gold, from this consciousness came everything. What all? Time, space and all everything else that you see. Okay? So that is what we call, what it is, that it becomes many. And now when the forms and functions and laws and body and mind and everything exists, where is it? Everywhere. Why? No, not because it is like how the gold is, when the ornaments are created, where is gold? Everywhere. Right? So that means when the whole universe is created, where is consciousness? Everywhere. Wherever there is a form, there is consciousness. Wherever there is any function, there is consciousness. Wherever there are any laws, there is consciousness. Wherever there is any body, mind and intellect, there is consciousness. Wherever there is any language, there is consciousness. Wherever there is any knowledge of a given thing, there is consciousness. Wherever there is time, there is consciousness. Wherever there is space, there is consciousness. So that means, what we mean by all pervasive is, it pervades the entire creation like the gold, what? Pervades the entire ornament world. Do you understand? Now, the next question is, okay, gold I can see, but now you are describing this final cause as all of this. How will I ever know it? Because it's not something which I can see, it's not something that I can touch, it's not something which itself has a form, which itself is something which is not within time and space, and my body is within time and space. How will I ever get to this cause that you are talking about? The key you have to use. What is the key? This consciousness, listen to it carefully. As I said, as the gold, what? Inheres what? The entire ornament world. This consciousness inheres where? Everywhere. And that everywhere includes what? My body, my mind, my intellect. Do you understand? So that means when I see my body, the key, you have to use it cleverly and you have to use it at the right place. You can't just use it like, consciousness. It doesn't work. Please, it doesn't work. Okay? Now, the key is very clever, because if it's everywhere, it has to be where also? In my body and mind. So, body, mind, senses. Right? Now, I only find body, mind and senses. Where is this cause, which is what the Upanishads talk about as consciousness? Where is it? I don't find it. It is there. It is what? As though what? Hidden. Why is it hidden?
Because it's everywhere.
It's
If
everywhere.
it weren't everywhere, then you would see it. Because you would see the difference between it's there or not there.
So that means it is hidden. That's why the Upanishad's job is to make you see this consciousness, which is equivalent to what? The goal, which inheres everything, where there is one place where you can, because it's not an object, you can't see it, right? You can't hear it, but it is something which you can know, and what? As a self-revealing presence, which is I am. So, what is the problem right now? Your I am is what? Stuck to this identity. Your body, mind, sense complex seems like I to you right now, before you start with Upanishads. So what Upanishads have to do is what? Remove your I am from this body, mind, sense complex. So the first thing that the Upanishad has to do is little bit what Carl was talking about is na iti, na iti. Right? There is a methodology which is called neti neti. Yeah? Now, that is negation. But that negation is not the only methodology. Right? Please understand. It's one of the clever methodologies to first make you see you are not this. Right? So how is it that you are not this? The body is not who you are. Why not? Okay. There are several methodologies which are employed to make you see you are not the body. So we can't use all the methodologies. Different Upanishads use different methodologies to show that you are not the body. Today we will use one of the methodologies which is called Anvaya Vyatireka. That is last time I used in Berlin which methodology? Avasthatraya. You remember? 3 states of experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use another methodology which is called what? Drik Drishya Viveka. What is a subject and what is an object. Today we will use another methodology which is called Anvaya Vyatireka. Different methodologies to make you see clearly what you are not. Suppose, look at this, listen to me carefully. The body is right now and I am, is there or not? Yes. So body is there, I am is there. In the deep sleep, look at this. Your connection with the body for that time being goes away. I am there or not? Yes. So that means body is there, I am. Body is not, I am. So that means this I am it survives what? Connection with the body. So that means this I am can exist without connection to the body. What is the example? Deep sleep. Your own deep sleep. Body is there, I am there. Body's connection is gone, I am still there. So I can't be the body. If I was only the body, when connection with body is gone, I should be God. Logic. Right? Now, the second thing. This is what we call Anvaya Vyatireka. Body is there, I am there. Body is gone, I am there. So that means I am is independent of being the body. This is the methodology. Okay. Now, the next is what? Mind. Mind, the mind, and it's all different, hundreds of different thoughts. For when it is there, are you there? Just, you forget about these millions of thoughts that you have. Just take two thoughts, right? Two thoughts. Two thoughts of now, right? The lake is beautiful. Before you thought of lake being beautiful, were you there or not? Yes. So the mind is now. When the thought came that the lake is beautiful, are you there or not? Yes. So that means mind is nothing but thoughts. And when the thought is there, I am there. When the thought is gone, now I am the lake, that thought is gone, and now what you are trying to understand this thing, right? So hopefully the mind is still not on the lake. So hopefully you are having another thought now, I hope. Okay? So when that thought, this lake thought gone, I am there or not?
Yeah.
So that means if I am not one thought, I am not what? Millions of thoughts.
So I'm there in the interval between thoughts.
Excellent. So that means I am there in the interval between the thoughts. And I'm also there when the mind itself, just as in the deep sleep, the whole body's association is negated, the whole mind's association is also negated, I am still there. But you don't need deep sleep. You can just look at the thoughts in the waking and you can still come to this Anvaya Vyatireka. Do you understand? So, yeah.
And same with emotions or experience, you can act it out anyway.
Absolutely, right? So therefore, this is there, mind and its various thoughts are there, I am there, they go completely, I am there. So what it means is that this I am, everything else seems to come and go. The I am is something which what? Remains. Now, so therefore, this I am, so now what is the problem? I only thought that I am this and this. Now what, through this methodology, what it shows is, this is actually a wrong self-identity. Now, the wrong self-identity, please understand, it doesn't mean you have to pretend that you're not connected to this body and mind. Don't do that. It's a privilege of Ishvara that you are given this body and mind, right? And you have to use this body and mind in order to what? To get it. So please don't disown your body and mind. This is a gift of Ishvara which enables you to solve these problems. This is why the tradition says that you must have done some tremendous punya to have gained human birth in which the mind is capable of knowing this reality, which is not available to any other species. The minds are not evolved enough to solve some complex problems. This is a gift. Don't deny it. Don't pretend I'm not the body and I'm not the mind and I'm not. Hey, this is the you have less and less grace of Ishvara. So that means it's a tool. Please understand, you have to shift. What is the shift? My true nature is not the body and mind. correct, right? But this body and mind is a gift that is given to me. And this is why. What is the first prayer? What? Let my ears connect the whole teaching. The first prayer. What is it saying? I'm given these ears. Let me use my ears to what? To hear the right things. I'm given this body, the eyes. Let it be used to see the right things. It's not my creation. If you, unfortunately, the human mind is so limited. By the time you are on the 6th verse, you forget what the first verse is about. So that means what? This body is given to me, this mind is given to me. Bless me so that I understand this reality about myself. And let me prepare it well. And I need your help. Oh Devas, I need your help. Because I myself am a little helpless. I very much would like to go there because I see that it will end to my suffering. But it's not totally up to me. So therefore, this is what you begin to see. Hey, okay, so now what is it? The next question. What is it which survives, look at this, all this body and mind by negating this is not who I am, this I am I know remains, but I still don't know what is the nature of this I am. Sandra.
If I'm right, you said that before a human birth is given to you, you have to do a lot of punya.
Yeah.
Does it mean that as an other species, you can do punya?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's maybe a satsang question. Yeah, I will, please ask me in satsang. It is good. This is good to answer. You'll remember to ask me in satsang?
I will.
Okay. It's a very important question because right now we are in human species. So right now we make use of this inquiry. But the question is, in other species, this inquiry is possible or not? Is that your question, Sandra? Or do you get punya in Papa?
Can you receive punya as another species?
Okay, great. It's a lovely question. I will answer this question in this satsang. Because that gets into another thing altogether, which is about this whole, how this cause and effect works. Tobiya is not happy.
No, I'm fine with
it. Okay, so yeah, Ute.
You just said the body and mind are a gift given to me by Ishvara, right?
Absolutely. So now we still have to see what Ishvara is.
The question is,
yes.
If I am not body and mind,
yes.
Okay, who is this me?
Yeah.
What is
so,
this me?
See, the thing is, exactly. See, the thing is, see, right now, what we are trying to see is, right now, who do you think you are? This I am, right? This body and mind. Now, what Vedanta is using this methodology. Follow this methodology. Otherwise, what happens? You yourself are trying to solve the problem. You can't solve the problem. This is what. You have to follow this methodology to solve this problem. So it is making you see that this body and mind, that which is, you are carrying this identity, it comes and goes and you survive. Okay? Now, the next question is, what is this I am which survives the body and mind? Yeah? Okay. So now, where did we start? Please look at this. We started with, now what was the question? We started with this cause, which is equivalent of gold, which is the cause of the entire ornament world. Follow the logic, what we are doing. Right? Do you understand that we are trying to, what is equivalent to ornament? The entire universe. And we are trying to find the cause. Right? Now, here all of this, so this cause, Upanishads describe as all of this. We need Upanishads because we can't figure it out by ourselves. You get that? So now, when Upanishad is talking about this cause, it has said what? It is not all of this. You understand? But at the same time, because it is a cause, it has to what? Inhere everything. Right? Like the gold inheres everything. Now, if it inheres everything, who are you right now? Before Vedanta, what is your identity? Body and mind. So it also has to inhere this. Just as the gold inheres ornament, this cause has to inhere the body and mind. Yes? Now, so that means now we are trying to say, look at this body and mind. Our whole identity is what? In the body and mind, and by doing so, we miss out on what? The cause, which is as though hidden, which inheres everything. You got it? So now, once you have taken out all these identifications that this is not I, actually this I am is what? Actually, what is hidden here is equivalent to gold, which is not only your cause, it is the cause of what? Everything. You get it? Okay.
So taking out the form, you are left with something which cannot be other than the cause.
Excellent. So that means you can use this methodology to look at any form. Do you understand that? So when you take out the form and what will be remaining is this cause for everyone. So when I take out this, what remains for me is what? This I am, I am. When you take out your body and mind, what remains for you is what? I am, I am. And what is this I am, I am, I am for a bird and for a fish and for an insect? What is this is what? The cause. Please use the language. This is exactly the cause which inheres every effect, like what? The gold which inheres every ornament. Do you understand? So now you need to figure out what is this I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am that everybody else feels is, which is that one cause which is like equivalent to gold. What is that cause? This is where what we say is, now different conditions, now you have to rely on what? Upanishads, because you can't figure out what is that cause. So what Vedanta says is, for now, let's take it as Sat, Chit, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma is the cause which inheres every effect, and it also inheres you. So suppose this I am is what we saw is what? Which part of Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam we saw? Consciousness. What is consciousness? Right. What? Chit. Right? So now, what you need to see is, now, what? Different, now, use Anvaya Vyatireka. For you to know different conditions of the body, do you need consciousness or not?
Yeah.
Yes, right now. We are talking about you right now. Yes. Now, the body, now, not only you have body, but you also have mind, and it's hundreds of different thoughts. The presence of consciousness is needed or not for it to know different conditions of the mind. So that means this is consciousness. Now, the other person does it. But now, suppose here, Yuta did this inquiry. Here, Gabi does this inquiry. And Gabi's body is different, so Gabi has come to this I am, and Gabi has also come to this I am, and that also is consciousness. Consciousness. Now, in this life, mosquito doesn't have the capacity to do this discrimination. But what is the reality? If mosquito were to think about mosquito body and mosquito mind,
Mosquito Vedanta.
mind, and mosquito also should come to what? Consciousness. I am, which is consciousness. So now, magic. Because inheres, like the gold, inheres what? Every ornament is cause consciousness inheres what? Every body and mind. What makes us miss out on this consciousness is what? Our identity ends here. Because our identity ends here, we become only this, and everything else becomes other than you.
This is again a question of words, isn't it? Because when I hear I am, I think I have to know that I am.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the mosquito is also I am.
It's true.
And it does not
It doesn't know it.
say
So that
I
means-
am mosquito and I'm alive now for 3
Yes,
days. So,
exactly.
this,
So that means,
so this
that
consciousness
means,
does not mean that I have to know what I am and where I am and all that.
and look, our identity, so who's trying to solve the problem? Now, first question, is consciousness trying to solve the problem, or you, the little one, is trying to solve the problem? You, the little one, is trying to solve the problem. Right? So now, this little you has to recognize that, hey, this whole world is actually names and forms, right? And I am, right now, the way I think, I'm connected to one body and one mind. And this is how I live my life. And everything else seems external to me. But if I really look at the universe, then everything is in here, like all the ornaments, everything in here is what is inhered by the cause of the universe. Where will you, what does Upanishad say? You will not be able to find that cause as a form which has an attribute. You will not be able to hear it. You will not be able to, then where will you find it? Where is the place you will find it? When I begin to look into my true nature, it is well hidden as my true nature.
This is why it's so sukshma.
This is why it is so sukshma.
But that means when you talk about the knowledge of
Very subtle. It was one
It
of
is
the
so subtle
words.
because the key of the universe is hidden at a place where you will never imagine it is.
and it's the closest you can ever
And it's
imagine.
the closest that you can ever imagine. That's why you don't need any pretense. Because one thing which can never leave you is your consciousness. Right? So that means a story time. Because now it's so, how is this story? Let's wake up a little with the story. So, our teacher told us a story, wonderful story, of a man who's traveling by train. A man who's traveling by train, and so he's very, he's just kind of, looking for And he's counting the money that he has and everything. So right across from this man was a thief. So the thief saw that this man is what? Counting all the money. So what the thief said is what? Let the night come and I'm going to steal this money. So what happened is, so the night came and both of them had to, just freshen up before they go to sleep. So first the man went, then the thief went to freshen up, and then they both went to sleep. At 3 o'clock, this thief wakes up. And what does the thief want to do? Find all these money that he just saw the other person counting. And so he starts looking where he first looks in his luggage, he doesn't find it. Then he thinks that, oh, he has kept with him, so he looks in his pocket, he doesn't find it. He looks below his pillow. These are the normal places where you hide things, right? So, so he looks at all these places and he doesn't find it. So he's so frustrated, right? Next morning comes, both of them go to the bathroom, they freshen up. And while the man goes, then the thief goes. When the thief is coming, this man is counting his money to make sure that it's all intact, right? Now the thief is saying, oh my God, where did he hide this money, right? So he's so clever, where did he hide the money? So tonight, it was a 2-night journey. So he says, tonight I'm going to get him, right? Because he's also a skilled thief. He just wants to, okay, let me look for something else. So therefore, the next night came, the same story, right? This man went to freshen up, the thief went to freshen up, and then what? They both went to sleep. And then what happened is, again, this thief gets up at 3, and he again starts looking. Where do you think he will look this time?
Bathroom.
Huh?
In his panties.
So probably, let's take Tobia's idea. And very carefully looked at every place, probably the most intimate places where you can think that you can hide something. And he still didn't find it, right? So the next morning, again, they both freshened up, and when the thief came, again he was counting. Now the thief was so frustrated, and he couldn't contain anymore. Where have you been keeping this money? Right? I'm a skilled thief and I'm not able to find it. Right? So the man said, what do you think? Where did the man hide it?
In the thief's pocket, probably.
In the thief's bag. In the thief's pillow. It's the last place where he would search. Do you understand that? The last place where you will search is what? He said, while I was counting the money, I saw that the way you were looking at me, I knew something was fishy. And when I knew something was fishy, I had to find a place which is the safest place for me. And what is the safest place? It was right under your pillow.
So the same with the eye.
The same with the eye. Right? The cause of the universe, where will you find? It is not to be seen, it is not to be heard, it doesn't have any form, it doesn't have any attributes. Where will you find it?
Under my pillow.
Safe place, which is the truth of I, which is the truth of I. The last place where you suspect it is. So therefore, this is where it is this consciousness that we are talking about is not some kind of a free entity which has to pretend anything. It's a cause of the universe. And it is the cause of not only you, but it is the cause of everything else. And it survives time, and it survives space, and it survives every form, and it is the truth of, it is truth of time, truth of space, truth truth of every object, truth of all the laws, it is everything. Now, the next $1 million question that Ute was trying to ask, and that is, hey, wait a minute, you have to little bit explain to me, how did this consciousness, can you explain to me the dynamic through which this consciousness became all this? No, please don't give answers like that. Who gave an answer like that? Okay. If consciousness had ignorance, what will happen?
To become an ornament, an object.
Okay, so that
So
means.
no, I didn't mean that.
Sorry. As a teacher, I have to be careful. No, it cannot be ignorance. What can it be exactly? There is a mechanism which we will see in the next class. It's a very sophisticated mechanism where comes what? Ishvara, Maya, all these wonderful terms that you think you know, but you will be surprised. Okay? So that means you need to fill the gap.
Is it the different order of reality?
So all these we will see. Please understand, right? Don't jump to conclusions. It's all explained with great intricacies. Great intricacies. So therefore, the next verse talks about how this, which inheres everything, how it what manifested as everything.
See, it is one of the words in this mantra, which is Vibhum.
Which
is,
became all pervasive.
No, this is Sarvagata.
Yeah.
Vibhum is that which will manifest in the form of Vividam Vibhati, means in the form of all these various forms. So now the way the Upanishad progresses, it will throw a few words here in this first mantra, and then it will focus on one of the words. Oh, this question, how did this consciousness manifest? You are just telling me, but give me a little bit more now. I want to know more. This is not clear. This is how the Upanishad is progressing. It's beautiful.
It's the why question.
Yeah, it's how. How did this? Yeah, right? So that means, as Surya said, the word that Surya was talking about is what? Vibhu.
Yes.
Which becomes many. Yeah? What was the word of Vibhu? Which becomes many. So you can say, oh yeah, so it inheres everything, I understand now. It's one thing which inheres everything, but how did this consciousness, which is everywhere, how did it become all this? Right?
Because there is another word which poses a problem here, is what? Avayavam? Mere avayavam?
Yeah, which undergoes no change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that also we have not yet touched it. So Neema
Yeah.
will explain that further.
So, yeah. So that means, as Surya is very rightly saying, if you're really smart, you will say, hey, on one hand you're telling me it is avyayam, it doesn't undergo any change, and on the other hand you're telling me that it is what? Manifesting as whole jagat. How is it possible? The question of smart people, and then there are smarter answers. By Upanishads, right? Okay, we will see in the evening. Okay.
So this is a question. There was said, I am in the interval between thoughts. Why only in the interval?
No, that's not the Anvaya Vyatireka. Did I say that I'm only in the interval of the
Oh,
thoughts?
sorry, I understood.
What was this Anvaya Vyatireka? The body and its different conditions is there. What? I am. When the body's connection goes, I am. So that means when body is there, I am. When the body is not there, I still am. So that means I'm not the body. Yeah? So it's not, please don't, that's good that you asked this question. I'm not saying that only between two thoughts I am. Otherwise what will happen is, it will become like Buddhism, where you have to eliminate thoughts.
Okay.
Right? in order to reach I am. We are not talking about that. When the mind, when the thoughts, please look at these, follow it carefully. When the mind and its different thoughts are there, I am. When the mind resolves, I am. So there is an invariable presence of I am. Yeah, it doesn't come and go. If it came and went, it will become again subject to time and space. And it's not only invariable presence for you, it's the invariable presence of everything.
This is why this word is not subject to change is important here. That the Upanishad mantra is saying. It is an invariable presence. While there is thought or no thoughts, while everything is changing, this is where we have been looking at. It's still there. Always there. Okay? But then, if it is that, then you have to reconcile with the other word as we saw with this vibhum. If it is not undergoing any change, how did it become meaningful? It's a big thing.
So the next mantra, it answers that question. Yeah. So that means deeper and deeper engagement means more and more questions, more and more intricate questions. This is why what we call susukshma. Susukshma means that it's subtle, and you need to engage properly to get to what the real nature of this, the cause of the universe. It's not enough to you to kind of roughly know something. It's not enough. Susukshma means you have to really, only when all these questions are answered, you can, and the answers are clear, right? You can say that there is knowledge. Yeah, you understand the nature of this. Yeah. No. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate